Not gonna lie, I'm really gonna miss yelling over two.
I feel like it represents the work and the value associated with a takedown. You can't be training at a club 3-4 days a week and think that you're going to go to that tournament and play.
It's funny to see like how many kids who like end up like doing well and like winning this tournament and going on to like winning NCAA titles.
It's bananas. And one thing that amazes me in the sport is how many people don't have a rule book. Oh, that's not the way we call it out here. Well, bro, there's one rule book. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. Shout out to Amazon e-commerce guy who's slinging these rule books.
He's chasing his bag.
Yeah, he's
like yelling "get up" is only going to go so far.
Wait, is that not a good coaching get up? In college, we used to have the old tornado. We used to call the tired tornado. Hey guys, what's up? This is Jake Elkins, head coach, founder of Ironclad Wrestling, Ironclad Methods. You were here listening to the CLADcast episode 6. I've got my man MJ here. We are going through the rule book, doing all the things. CLADcast is our new podcast that is focused on empowering athletes, coaches, parents all across the country. We have lots of platforms and training and stuff, but this is obviously free for you guys, and we just want to have the important conversations. MJ, check in with us.
What's going on? How are you?
What's up, dude? What's up? We're at it this morning. I'm a couple cups of coffee in. I'm back to water, hydrating today, but we got the Jocko Go on the camera.
Always.
Man, the sour
Go time.
The sniper sour apple, I think is what it's called, is so good, dude.
Yeah, this one's been my favorite recently.
All the flavors are cool. They're all like Navy SEAL themed and stuff. So like, that one's sniper sour apple. I guess the pink lemonade one is called Pink Mist, which I was informed is related to what happens when a sniper gets a headshot. I'll keep it from being too graphic, but yeah,
it's a little graphic.
It's all like, I was like, oh, that's so hard that they just slid that right up, in plain sight, right? Man, so we just got back from Super 32, and the 3-point, number one, that tournament is just insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's so tough.
Had conversation with a couple of guys since then, coaches, about just the challenge of that tournament, and there's a lot of reasons why. I think one of the major things that were just different was the 3-point takedown. And so first shot, like, what did you think, MJ, about the 3-point takedown?
Not gonna lie, I'm really gonna miss yelling over two. That's probably my biggest takeaway.
There was a whole lot of that of we're literally, you're calling for a takedown and you're literally like, that's 2. And then you're like, I mean,
oh, wait, 3.
There were some really funny things like that. I liked it. I really liked it a lot. I felt like it's representative. I feel like it represents the work and the value associated with a takedown, right? But it really changed match strategy. I guess I knew that it would, but in the moment, having to like restructure what, kind of reprogram my brain about what we need to do in situations. Like you give up a takedown, you get a reversal, you're still losing.
Yeah.
That guy escapes and now you're down 2. The wrestling math was very different. And it also, man, it was a big deal. Like a close call on a takedown. We had a match. We took a guy's back, trying to turn him. His hands hit. I really thought beyond. I mean, I think everybody thought it was a takedown, but we didn't get it awarded. And then later, like that continued on, became a scramble, and then ultimately we gave up what I thought was a reversal, but became a takedown. And so we were down 3-0 when it should have been 3-2 us, right? And so the escape, and it changed in one of those matches specifically with Brody. I mean, it completely changed the match, and it was just kind of like, wow, yeah, it was wild. I think wrestling fans are going to like it though. I really think so, because it makes it exciting. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it keeps the sport fresh. Like you do have to like change the way you game plan. I personally, for my style, I like neutral. So I like that they're rewarding you more for going and getting that takedown.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's really cool. There was a lot of, I think some people, I mean, you live and die by the sword. Like in some matches it really helps you, and in other matches you're like, man, I would have won, but I didn't. But also you could be down, you'd be down 6 or 7 points, and like you're not out of the match really because a couple of every time you get a takedown and let the guy up, you're netting 2 now, not 1. And so it reminded me of freestyle where the match is never completely out, right? One of the most exciting things about freestyle is like, hey, you're down 7, 8 points, but you're 15 seconds away from the score being tied. You know, like there's always that X factor hanging, and so it makes it a fun rule set. And I felt like that was the case at Super 32. It was obviously an insane level of wrestling. One of the things that's really different now is, I mean, just how many crazy committed athletes there are in high school, right? I placed at that tournament back in the day, and I mean, it was a hard tournament. It was really hard, but it wasn't, like anyone who tries to claim that it's the same or whatever, like placing in 2006 is not the same as placing in 2023, right? In 2016, like, I mean, that tournament's been around for like probably 30 years now, which is wild. I was just trying to figure out, I was trying to do the math on like how long the tournament's been there, and I guess I could easily Google and figure it out, but I don't know, it's been 25 years probably, if not more, and it's an absolute machine. There's just, you can't be training at a club 3-4 days a week and think that you're going to go to that tournament place. I don't care if you're a freak athlete or not. The kids that are there are so committed, and they're cutting a truckload of weight. It is, I mean, it's really the NCAA tournament for high school athletes, I really feel like.
Yeah, it's funny to see like how many kids who like end up like doing well and like winning this tournament and going on to like winning NCAA titles.
It's bananas.
It's tough. It's a gauntlet for sure.
It's been pretty cool too. We just had U23 Worlds. America won. Thanks. Another belt for the good guys.
Let's go.
It was wild. So there's several guys that are U23 age now that we came up competing against with a lot of our good athletes. And so we were watching guys that we wrestled in the national finals, like Cardenas won U23 Worlds, or was bronze. He was bronze at Worlds. Trumbull, who our boy C. Knopp is behind at NC State, freaking won Worlds at 97 kilos, I believe, right?
That's wild.
And so there was a couple of things like that. Yeah, it's just cool to see these guys that we competed against consistently in high school and what they're all doing now in college. It makes me really excited for the next 5 years of our athletes and just what all they're going to do. So, yeah, I mean, the term is just bananas. I feel like I want to talk more about that. I want to jump into the rule set and talk about why and all the things, but it's just wild. I mean, there were guys that are top 5 in the country who went 1 and 2. I mean,
that's insane.
Tough guy, tough day, buddy. Like, just a kind of reminder that, hey, even the guys that you think are really good, if you're a high school kid or parent or whatever, fan of high school wrestling, that, hey, man, like everybody has bad days, your son included.
For sure,
right?
for sure.
The rule set definitely changed wrestling. And I think that's a thing that's become more common for us to talk about, is that at different tournaments, they have different rules. And a lot of coaches are like, oh, yeah, rules meeting, and they don't go, which I think is crazy. I mean, in Fargo, you know, I mean, there's a ton going on. All you want to do is like go get some food and get out of there. Like, you probably need a cold beer
get off your feet
after the day. But I took the time to go to the rules meeting, and I was talking to one of the head officials about that. You know, he runs the training stuff. I'll think of his name in a minute, but I was like, man, this is such an important thing to do, because he was like, they had their officials meeting. They're like, hey, key in on these things. That's what we're looking for, whatever. And when you go to the rules meeting and you get the same training, now you and the referees are on the same, like you're speaking the same language, right?
I'd say exactly the same thing.
And so that rule set changes from tournament to tournament. I think if you're a coach skipping the coaches meeting because you're like, oh yeah, I've done this a long time. Like, man, there's always some nuggets in there, and you need to know what's up and pay attention. If you don't, I think you're doing a disservice to your athletes. So I was shocked, because I mean, there was like, I don't know, 12, 15 guys. There's thousands of coaches in Fargo. There's 15 of us in the rules meeting. I'm like, what's going on, bro? And freestyle especially. Anyways, there's just a whole lot there. So we get the rules books every year. Okay, I've got the last 5 of them, I guess, here. And we read it every year. I mean, I've been doing this for the whole time, all the things, but I read it every year. And one thing that amazes me in the sport is how many people don't have a rule book, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm a super snob about officiating because I think that officials in particular have the greatest platform to educate and inform our constituents, our athletes, parents, and coaches. The officials have a better platform to do that than we even do here with this microphone. You know what I'm saying? And because every Saturday they're reffing a couple hundred matches, and the parents and kids, everybody are learning on the way to what's going on, right? When you get high-level officiating and high-level athletes together, it's cool because, again, there's a conversation happening without words, really, right? Like, we're all speaking the same language of he knows he hasn't quite met that criteria as an official. I'm looking at it. I'm looking for criteria. There it is. Boom, there's your 2 or your 3 or whatever, right? And so it's just everything that's happening in a very unspoken way, and you got fans losing their minds because maybe they don't know or they think they know or whatever. And so one of the things that I think is really big are the interpretations of rules. There's several things. There's different interpretations of rules, or the way that it gets called in other parts of the country. I hear that all the time. Oh, that's not the way we call it out here. Well, bro, there's one rule book. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. NCAA's is different, but if you're in high school, this is your rule book, right? You can get this bad boy on Amazon right now. Although I did notice whoever's slinging these on Amazon has like doubled or tripled the price in recent years. I see your hustle. Shout out to Amazon e-commerce guy who's slinging these rule books.
He's chasing his bag.
Yeah, he's buying these things for $6 and selling them for $40 on Amazon because it's convenient. So shout out to that guy. There's several things. There's old rules. There's interpretations, vary across the country. There's honestly just good and bad officials, right? Or somebody watches an athlete wrestle, their son loses, and it got called this way, and so they learn this thinking that that this is how it's supposed to be called, when actually that was incorrect, whatever. It just, oh man, it leads to there's a real knowledge gap and a communication gap when we talk about athletes, coaches, parents, officials, like the 4 of them. There are both communication gaps and knowledge gaps there, and so it creates a lot of turmoil. And so this thing has the truth in it, and we should all be reading it. And I kind of want to shame folks who don't.
For sure, especially as a coach. Like, you've got to be able to fight for your guys. And like you were talking about in freestyle, where it is up for judgment calls, you got to be able to speak the same language as these officials. Otherwise, you're just kind of useless in the corner. Like, yelling "get up" is only going to go so far.
Wait, is that not a good coaching cue? Get up. Squeeze.
You got to wrestle.
Drop your favorite horrible coaching cues in the corner. I mean, yeah, let us know in the comments about that. My favorite is squeeze, dude.
Yeah, squeeze is up there. I think Caden Henschel made a meme about that this week, talking about the best things that moms yell from the side.
So bad. Get up. Oh, man, we live in Alabama, and we travel these terms in the South. You get some quality ones.
You got to want it. That one's my top 5 for sure.
You got to want it. Okay, so there's a few situations, again, some common misnomers. There's also like the way it gets called at the NCAA level, and we just auto-assign that to high school, but it doesn't exist, right? So there's certain situations, like for instance, the 5 count in rear standing, okay? The person comes up to their feet, you're in rear standing position, trying to turn the guy. There is no 5 count. I don't know why. I mean, I guess if you're, listen, if you're lobbying for the stall call, you could just start counting to 5, but that doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
There's no 5-second count to return a guy. Now in college, you see this, they're counting, right? But that's not a rule in high school or below, but I see it all the time. And right away, it changes matches because it changes strategy. Somebody gets hit or they give a point or whatever, and it's just bananas that it doesn't exist in the rule book, right? Other things that are really simple are, that I lose my mind over. I'm like, hey, man, we're 45 degrees here, 45 degrees. We're not giving Nearfall at 90. This isn't freestyle,
gosh, yes.
45 degrees. One of the other ones that really is crazy is a pin. Any idea? Anybody want to know how long a pin is? 2 seconds. It's 2 freaking seconds. Yeah. It's not 1. It's not touch fall. 2 consecutive seconds. So we're going to go through the rule book, talk about literally just start to finish. We're going to go through. We highlighted a bunch of points. I went through this one on our way. Where were we on the plane headed to?
Gilroy.
When we were headed to California, I was going through this year's rule book, highlighting stuff, and I was just like, MJ, wake up. Like, I'm like, guess what?
I was like, take my AirPod out. And I was like, what? I was like, oh, cool. You can't wear tights now.
We're going to start at the top. We highlight some things that I think are just good touch points. So if you don't have one of these rule books, or you're not going to go through and read it, you already know, then you need to check out the podcast. We're going to run through some highlighted points in no particular order. Honestly, I think this is good conversation. It's a place where we need to be having conversation, because we should be talking about what other people think is right and not right, or whatever else, right? I don't want to have the Facebook argument in the comments section, right? But we need to have a discussion about what these rules actually say and what the truth actually is, so we can get closer to it. So without further ado, let's dive in. First, plug, I want to thank our sponsors, All-American Ford, John Makovica. Man, that guy is fantastic. He's supporting our calls all the time. Love that guy. All-American Ford. What a great name, honestly. He's got Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Aniana, but All-American Ford is there in Springville, just north of Trussville, right off 59. Beautiful store. Man, go see his people. He's awesome. I just went in and got my truck serviced and stuff this week. Totally took care of me. All first-class people. They're amazing. Other things, Ironclad Methods, obviously bringing this thing to you here. That's our own in-house thing, but we are empowering athletes, coaches, parents. We've got lots of stuff online. So we've actually been in the process. We're completely overhauling our online stuff, and we're moving it all onto a new platform where we've got better access and communication with our people. And then with that, we've got two new things. We've got our pro coaches program and our elite athlete program for athletes and parents. And so one of the challenges, and MJ knows this at a spiritual level that we have, is there's such a long loop, it's such a long rope rather, to when we have something, to being able to produce it in a way that's meaningful and valuable to everybody else, right? There's so much work involved. So we literally have to stop everything that we're doing. And then, there's 100 hours of work that go into trying to create courses in a way that we think are the most valuable for everybody, right? And so one of the things that we're starting to do, instead of just having these courses, which we still have courses, we're going to continue to produce courses. We've got thousands of hours of content online right now, but free things obviously, but inside of ironcladmethods.com, we have so much stuff for you that's going to get you off the struggle bus that it took us 20 years to learn. However, now we've got this pro coaches program and the lead athlete program where we're doing 2 weekly calls a week. We'll do a training where we're going to give our sermon on wrestling on a topic. And we'll do that based off of need and things that those people are asking for. And then we'll have a follow-up with them later in the week too. That's Q&A, check-in, continued ed on the things that are going on. I'm really, really excited about that because it just feels more like us. Like it's more authentic. Hey, we're going to turn the camera on. You got a question with this technique or this position you're having a problem with. Your guys are getting cut up here. Here's what I recommend. And then that'll be also connected to the resources that we already have. If you can't be on the live call, we'll film it, record it, send it to you. Like you're going to have it all the time, right? So you can be watching it on your way to work or in your free period, prepping. It's just going to be awesome. I'm really excited about that. It feels like the usable, tangible, valuable product that we've wanted it to be. We're just honestly, we now have the capability with the 3-man team that we can do it in a way that works, right? So anyways, all that's going on. Let's get in this rule book. All right, here. So I'm going to jump in. I've got the 23-24 NFHS wrestling rule book starting on page 10, 11. It just talked about the mat area. Basically, the mat should be a minimal size, and there should be 10-foot safe boundary everywhere, right? I think that's really important because we go to tournaments, and they've got a 22-foot circle, and you're trying to wrestle in a tiny area, and honestly, the action just gets stopped the whole freaking time. Right, especially you get some big guys, like you got 2 kids that are 6 foot tall, and they're covering a lot of space, and they're wrestling all over the place. Your 170, 82, 95 guys, although those weight classes are different. We'll talk about that. Having plenty of safe space outside of that and boundary to wrestle on, or having a full-size mat is a huge thing. Okay, a lot of these tournaments are just taping off circles, which I'm fine with it being a little smaller, but man, we got to put a minimum size on that. If you got youth kids, they don't need a 32-foot circle. Like, shrink that baby down. That's okay, but all the things. Referees and their duties, man, you should be reading that. We're scrolling through timekeepers, what that all looks like. The first thing that I kind of highlighted here is page 17. If the shoelace comes off, if the shoelace come untied or the shoe comes off, it's an automatic stalling call, right? And so, however, note an acceptable securing fashion for the laces is just double knotting them. So they don't have to be taped or tucked in. You can tie your shoe and then double knot it, and that is an acceptable form. That's in this rule book, 2324, which has not ever been previous. Big deal about having your laces secured. All right, and so a stall call if any of that stuff happens, and then, again, you can just double knot it, right? But don't be letting your shoelaces come untied. That's a Russian tactic.
Yeah.
Did you see the video Flo put out about, oh my gosh, Muzakayev talking about just how bro,
his
he was
antics,
the biggest staller ever. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, JD Rader posted a Twitter thread on some of his favorite antics a few years ago, or maybe it was last year. But yeah, he's definitely an entertainer.
In college, we used to have the old tornado. We used to call the tired tornado.
The tired
Shout
tornado.
out to my homie Keno Griffin, national champ, teammate, for whatever. He was the king of. He would just be going, and all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I just think I need a little rest," and just every time, bro, every time, whatever. That's he won NCAAs, so it worked for him.
Paid off. Speaking the same language as the officials, right there.
Yeah, he knew the deal. That rule quickly changed, and guys get choice of position and a lot of other things. It was so funny though. Let's see if I continue on. Man, it talks a lot about the appearance and health. So number one, you can have facial hair, right? That is allowed as long as it's not abrasive. You can have a beard and all the things. It's pretty harsh language in here about if you have skin funk or any type of body condition that their sole reasons for disqualification. It says application of this rule shall not be arbitrary or capricious. Capricious? Am I reading that correctly? That word's bigger than I am. Covering a communicable condition shall not be considered acceptable and does not make the wrestler eligible to participate. So it's pretty harsh language in here about skin funk. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. Like, it's a huge deal, right? So sanitation, number one, man, you got to be getting soaped up. You got to be getting washed up, right? In our onboarding stuff with our members, we talk about appropriate and inappropriate soaps. You can't be just using, you can't be using Axe, bro. Yeah. That ain't it. The Old Spice ain't getting it done. You need antibacterial. I really recommend Selsun Blue to our athletes. I think it's awesome. And I use Selsun Blue myself. It's the number one thing because we're on the mat all the time. All of their little Selsun Blue stuff. It's also good for guys for like body acne and stuff, and just it'll help with all those hormones, especially in teenagers. I'm just a grown man in a teenager's body. I still got all those issues, so I just make sure I'll be using that all the time. That's really huge. Really, like the skin funk is. It's like a concussion, or it's like having a broken arm or something, a torn ACL.
It's just as important as making weight. Like, you've got to be on your sanitation.
It's massive, right? And so I think that what we're going to see is wrestlers are going to start to embrace more of the jiu-jitsu stuff where they're using rash guards, right? So in jiu-jitsu, they call your compression shirt, it's a rash guard, right? And short sleeve and long sleeve. Now, you can't compete in a long sleeve, right? But like, they're really awesome for training because you don't have a bulky, baggy t-shirt and stuff. If I show up to jiu-jitsu and train in a t-shirt, they're kind of like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Nobody busts me too hard about it because, guess I own the place.
Choke them out.
And you choke them and they just can't say anything else. But like, you can't, that's just not the move, right? So I think you're going to see a real growth of compression pants and long sleeve rash guards to help have another barrier between your skin. And then we need to do other things, man. Like, you can't be. One thing that drives me bananas is for our kids to like go to the bathroom during practice, right?
Yes.
Like, hey, the mats at a wrestling tournament are already disgusting, bro. People, jiu-jitsu guys get this. Like, if you walk across the mat with your tennis shoes on, people lose their mind, right? And to the point that when I first came around, that I was like, man, maybe I'll just relax a little bit, But if you are wearing, if you've been outside in your shoes or in the bathroom with your shoes and you get on the mats, it's like a huge no-no, bro. They will I mean, they'll call you a communist, right? It
Yeah.
is not a game. And so we just got to really be mindful of sanitation stuff. When you start to look at it and think about it, it's pretty disgusting, right? Like, I'm going to be laying on this in a minute. My face is going to be mushed up in this and whatever else. I don't want you go into the bathroom where little Johnny missed the toilet,
Yeah.
stepping in it and walking back down here in the area that I'm going to be hanging out, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a huge thing. And the rule book is pretty harsh this year on what it says about those things. Wrestlers shall not wear wristbands, sweatbands, bicep bands, leg or arm sleeves that do not contain a pad during a match. So you cannot wear a shooter sleeve if it doesn't have a knee pad inside of it, right? Like none of that stuff, which is kind of interesting. I'm like, man, why is that a deal? But it says that you cannot. I don't know the spirit of the rule there, like why that's the thing, but it has to have a knee pad in it. If it's not padded, you cannot wear the thing. So very interesting. Noted for weight classes, your state gets to decide this, but there's 12, 13, or 14 weight classes, and it changes. I think, Alabama still has 14. Most people have 14, but the weights have changed. So the 14 classes in here, let's see here, there's A and B. Like they offer, I'm sorry, it's the girls classes and then the men's classes. So 14 weight classes now for high school, if you're using the 14 class system, is 106, 13, 120, 26, 32, 38. And those are really all the same. But then it becomes 144, 150, 157, 165, 175, 190, and then 215. And then, of course, heavyweight at 285. So it's the same up through 138, and then it starts to change again, right? So 44, 50, 57, 65, 75, 90, 215. Which is interesting. I don't really have an issue with that. I mean, basically 45, 52, 60. It adds some weights there in the middle and then spreads out a little bit on the back end. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I don't mind the change. Mm-hmm. It's closer to what it was when I was in high school. It was 160, 170, 189. That was like the big jump, was from 170 or it was 171 to 189. Where this one's 175 and 190. I think that's probably better. And then we had 215 and 285. That was the weights when I was in high school many moons ago. Page 21 talks about scales. So it's very explicit. I highlighted the crap out of this because we had a huge deal at our little kid, our youth state tournament last year. There was a huge scandal, and I'm going to avoid it. But basically, there was a mom who was given some authority. And I even think to some degree she was doing what she was told by a new guy who was in charge that shouldn't have been in charge. He's since been booted from the leadership of the state organization. And this isn't just like regular youth sports drama. I'm talking about horrendous leadership. I'm talking about people who are unqualified to be in a position of authority or leadership. You just can't be giving Karen the microphone. You're going to have problems. Like, we've all been there. You're like, hey, someone may not always be the most important, and here they are, important. And they just run with some
with that
authority.
little bit of power.
There were kids. There was one time. So this is a youth tournament. They were allowed to step on the scale, and if they missed weight, they were out. There was no bumping weight classes. You could not bump weight classes.
It was the state tournament, right?
At the youth state tournament. This is the youth state tournament, a satellite weigh-in. One of 4 locations for the youth state tournament. This is a true story. Anyone who says this does not happen is freaking lying, okay? I'll strictly stick to the facts. There's about a 10-foot area inside. It was probably 10. Let's say it was 20 feet, but it wasn't 20. It's probably 10 feet, 6 feet wide, leading up to a table. Check in, your name, step on the scale right beside it, weigh in, right? Except there's a whole line of people, and it's freezing ass cold in Alabama in, the first week of February. And so there's kids outside in a singlet, literally, there's not room to get them inside, okay? And they're saying if you step on the scale and miss weight, that you miss and you're out. There was no second thing, anything, okay? Well, then I'm already like, whoa. What are we doing here? Mm-hmm. Then come to find out the scale is a half pound heavy, literally a half pound. It was like 0.6, 0.8, 0.6, 0.8. And then we checked it with 2 other scales, and it was 0.5, like pretty consistently heavy. So kids are just missing weight. Hey, first year wrestling, I'm just little Johnny sniffling, got his glasses on. Yeah, it was it was just like, what I'm saying is one thing, but the implications of what happened were so stupid. Oh my God, I was so pissed. People were like, hey, Jake, like, fix it. What do we do here? Like, do you need to fix this? And I'm just like, bro, I'm the coach of my club. I'm not on the board. I don't want to be on the board. Anyways, luckily, I think we're past that. Some of those people have been dismissed. Hopefully we'll never have that again. But here in this thing, the reason I highlighted all this, it says, if only one scale is available, a contestant may step on and off that scale 2 times to allow mechanical inconsistencies in the scale. If multiple scales are available, a contestant may step on and off the first scale 2 times to allow for mechanical inconsistencies. If the contestant fails to make weight on the first scale, they shall immediately step on each available scale 1 time in an attempt to make weight. During the time off the scale, activities that promote dehydration, weight loss, or weight gain are prohibited. So you can step on the main scale twice. If you miss weight, you get to step on any other scale in the room 1 time. Can't cut weight in the meantime. Bottom line, it's right here in the rule book. Contestants may wear socks that cannot be removed or added if you do not make weight. So if you get on the scale with socks and you miss weight, you can't take your socks off. That's in the rule book. It's literally in the rule book.
Please do not step on the scale with your socks on.
What are you doing?
Please take them off.
I thought that was crazy that that's in there, but I highlighted it. You can wear socks, but they cannot be removed or added if the wrestler does not make weight. No additional weight allowance shall be granted for weighing in wearing a legal uniform. Other big note, no additional allowance. So, hey, 1 pound in a singlet. No, like you either get a pound or like you don't, right? Like everybody gets a pound and it's flat. There's no additional allowance in the singlet. So like a really common thing now for weigh-ins is in youth and club events is like a pound allowance. So if the weight's 150, you can weigh 151.0, right? Or 150.9. Like they'll do stuff like that. And I think that's becoming more common because we went through that change and kids have to weigh in a singlet or in their competition uniform, which I think is a good rule. So people aren't in their boxers and all this stuff. Bro, when I was wrestling, people would weigh in naked. Like I remember being in the UNI Dome and guys, so you could weigh in naked. Then the next rule you couldn't. The next year you could, because it was national duels in college. And there's like the UNI Dome where everybody wrestles postseason nationals, all this stuff, preseason, postseason nationals. There's guys like, I mean, you're standing around in your boxers, but a guy misses weight, they just drop their skivvies and get on the scale. Well, you're in the middle of a freaking football arena. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're in a stadium. Well, women started coming in because they were having the girls' national duels too. So they're like coming on down the tunnel back there, and guys are dropping trout down on the floor. So it was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like it was
quite the safe sport violation.
Immediate crisis, bro. This is in 2010, I think. Immediate crisis, okay? And so the next year you had to weigh in underwear, but there was no standard on what underwear were. So same tournament, and guys are shredding their boxers, just ripping them off. I mean, you're like, I don't know that loincloth counts as underwear anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Literally just ripping up their Under Armour boxers were like new. I remember that being a thing. Everybody's just shredding them, and I'm like, a man's got on $30 trousers, and he's just ripping them to pieces, you know? Oh my God, such a funny time. So now you have to weigh in a singlet, of course, which is a good rule. And then the UFC allows, like, if it's 205, you can weigh 205 point anything and you make weight, right? Until you weigh 206 is the cutoff. So I think that's been popularized because of the transition into the singlets, and then also or competition uniform, and then also like just UFC allows that same thing. But no additional weight allowance shall be granted for weighing in or wearing a legal uniform. Dude, I need somebody else that was there at that freaking tournament to talk about what happened. It was nuts. I just remember thinking like, I don't know. And it was normal. Honestly, it was very normal. But I was just thinking like, this is not it. I don't think we should be doing this. Let's see. Bad time. Let's see here. Just talks about bad time. Bad time is a big thing, man. Like, I see this all the time where somebody thinks the score is one thing, but it's not. Our buddy JP had a match like that at Super 32 with one of his guys. There was what really should have been bad time. They thought the score was one thing. The score was wrong on the scoreboard. So athlete looks up and sees 10-9. He's losing by 1. Or I think it was 9-9. I'm trying to think of the situation. He looks on the scoreboard and sees that he's losing by 1 with like 20 seconds left in the match. So he cuts the guy to get the next takedown because he needs, obviously I'm not trying to ride you out on top to lose, right? And so, but the score was wrong. It was actually tied. It wasn't 10-9. It was 10-10. And so he cut him with 20 seconds left to give him the lead. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And it was an error at the table. Like they just, the thing was wrong. And so ultimately, I guess you say, hey, athlete, look at you got to know the score, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's easy to just, okay, how do I internalize this and take ownership of it, but take responsibility? But like, man, that's crazy. It talks about if the wrong wrestler gets choice, how that works and stuff, which I thought was just, that seems really niche, but it happens sometimes. And just reminder of what to do there. In the opinion of a referee, if a wrestler has bitten an opponent, will be deemed. If a wrestler has bitten an opponent and it's deemed as intentional, it'll be called as flagrant misconduct. There is zero gray area in this rule. Zero gray area, and I think this is good. Again, important to have a positive reputation because, like we had at Super 32, we're in the blood round. Cole Carter's in the blood round. Guy head vices us, and so Cole is a mouth breather, okay, especially late in matches. He's like,
you hear him breathing from the corner.
Bro, I always laugh. I'm like, I can just hear you huffing and puffing, dude. He's moving some oxygen with all them big muscles, okay? And he's such a scrapper. Dude, somebody needs to sign that joker, by the way. He's been around to 12 in Fargo in both styles and Super 32 now. On the front side and the back side in both styles. In Fargo and Super 32. So yeah, he's the man. Somebody signed the guy. Anyways, whatever. He's mouth breathing. Guy pulls his head down and gets his arm in his mouth, and Cole's like trying to breathe, but he was like pry barring his arm or whatever, right? And I mean, Cole didn't bite somebody, but I think the kid was looking for a break in his match or whatever. Ultimately, he beat us, so whatever. But he was playing the game a little bit, I think. And the ref's like, "Hey, dude, he didn't bite you." Like, no. If you're a freaking seasoned wrestler, I mean. A new little kid that just started wrestling that's a Neanderthal, maybe, right? But, I mean, biting is just so, man, that don't happen very often. Usually that's at like Tulsa or something, right? But if the referee thinks that you bit him, it's over. No questions asked. You're out of the thing. All your points are gone. Like, it's pretty deep. Okay, this is for, this seems petty. After seeded wrestlers have been placed in the bracket, and the buys drawn, remaining wrestlers shall be placed by draw. Basically, they should be random. I might have seen once or twice when people start finagling the bracket and building them out or whatever, because if you're on the inside, you have the ability to do that. But it's written there, it should be by draw. It should be completely random. That seems so petty. But, dude, anybody, I mean, you just seen it happen. It happens all the time. That's straight up cheating. It just basically says that's cheating. 2 cautions for a point. After that, you get unlimited cautions, right? So after 2 cautions, it's a point. And then it's 1 point for each subsequent infraction. There is no disqualification. That's what I made note of here, right? So caution warning, caution point. Caution 1, caution 2, third caution is a point. So after 2 cautions, the third one's going to cost you a point, and then every single one is just a point. But you don't caution out of the match, right? So we've all seen that happen before, I think, and you're just like, man, that sucks,
Happened at a youth tournament. I was like, this kid just doesn't know how to get set. Like,
he just doesn't know how to get set. Yeah, let the man live.
Let him wrestle, man.
Okay, so Section 5 is coaching misconduct, and it's just the call. This is the procedure for arguing calls, and I think this is really important because we want to get rid of in order to have quality officials, you can't have coaches acting like fools. They can't be screaming bloody murder, intimidating athletes. Like, it's honestly, I just say this all the time. You know, I'll be watching an Alabama game, and I'm like, bro, I'm so jealous that Nick Saban can just lose his mind when he's pissed. And like, we probably judge him a little bit, but I mean, ultimately, we just accept that that's the way it is. Watch college football all day long on Saturday. People are losing their minds, not just Nick Saban, although he's obviously the classic example and from our home state. But they get away with murder. Wrestling, the wrestling bench, bottom line, as much as I may wish that it was the same, it's not the football sideline, and you can't act like that. So football coaches or just obnoxious coaches come out there acting like a fool, want to come up and argue every call. So when a coach requests a conference with the referee at the scorer's table regarding a possible misapplication of a rule, and it's determined there was no misapplication, or when during a conference at the scorer's table, the coach questions the judgment of the referee, coach's misconduct shall be called. The misconduct penalty shall always be charged to the head coach. First offense is a warning. Second offense, 1 team point. Third offense is 2 team points and removal of the head coach for the remainder of the day. The sequence restarts on a new day. So Friday that happens, Saturday's a new day, or Sunday's a new day. The penalty chart starts over. But you get a warning for questioning judgment. The next one costs you a team point. The second time it happens is 2 team points, and the head coach is gone. Like, the point is, you can't go to the thing and question judgment.
That's
right?
wild.
Like, and so it becomes very legalistic, if you will. Like, you get up there and it's your little day. Like, hey, I'm an attorney for the day, and so I have to be very strategic on how I ask the question,
Say all the
so
right
that
vocab.
I'm not questioning the judgment. This is why the rule book's important, especially in freestyle. We say things like, "Is it possible?" or "You're using the right language." Right? And this year in a takedown, it talks about restraining power over your opponent, and so you need to be able to use the word restraining power, right? You need to be able to use the right vocabulary as you're talking to the officials to speak their language. Again, there's a lot of officials that don't read this rule book either, right? But the biggest thing is be respectful as well. I think that's a really important lesson. We had a match at Super 32. There's a referee who, oh man, I'm so bad at names. There's a referee. So he shafted Jaden New in the blood round of junior nationals at NHSCA nationals. Okay. So Jaden, and we just blew the call. We took the guy down and he just didn't award it. And I was like, hey, we're missing 2 on the board. And he just was like, he just missed it. And he's a human. He just made a mistake. It was a big deal. Ultimately, it cost the match. And I was very pointed with him. I was like, listen, this is not debatable. You missed it. It's not on the board, and this changed the match. And anyways, we lost the match. It was a huge ordeal. And something about it wasn't challengeable with what they were saying wasn't challengeable at the time. And anyways, but the referee, to his credit, went back and watched it. I wasn't a jerk to the guy. I was just like, listen, it's not unrealistic for me to expect that you get this right. Your job is to get this right. And anyways, I guess the way I communicate, again, to his credit, he went back and watched the match, found the match, watched it back, and he found me later, the next day or a couple days later while we were there, and he apologized, came up, shook my hand, said, hey, I'm sorry, and he said, hey, thank you for handling the situation the way that you did, right? Same referee, Super 32, helps us out. Questionable situation. Matter of fact, match ended, and the same things. The table had gotten the score wrong, and anyways, we fixed it. Whatever else, but I've had 1,000 run-ins with the guy since then, and I still remember that. I don't know if he remembers or not. I'm assuming he does. He always gives us the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. Not like, hey, I want you guys to have the takedown or whatever, right? But that character, I think, and the fact that we didn't act like freaking idiots and that we're sensible, I think carries a lot of weight.
For sure.
And he has since said before that he appreciates that stuff or whatever, right? I guess we made a friend out of the deal.
Yeah, I think it's super important to get the official on your side, especially in freestyle, but for sure in folk style, just because he has the power to penalize you really quick.
Yeah.
And so I hate when I see coaches just off the bat just like acting like the ref is just an idiot. Like, I mean, some of them are questionable, but you got to get them on your side. It's super important. You got to be respectful to these officials. And I think it's just part of being a good coach, you know?
You know, that's a huge thing with the P&L. The conversation is that, hey, we want the best officials. And so the coaches have to be respectful. And it's pretty awesome. I mean, you're talking about crazy competitive matches. We were in Chicago, and we're having a war with one of the Valiant kids. And I look over, and Larkin and I he's in the corner, I'm in the corner. And, like, no one said a word. Like, no one's yelling. We're honestly, like, not even talking. We're just letting the athletes sort it out. A couple of close calls back and forth. And I just remember sitting there going, man, this is different. And by the way, super awesome.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And I was thinking, this is how it could or should be all the time, right? There should be a certain element of class. I think that coaches are supposed to be authentic leaders. I think we're supposed to lead by example. And we can exemplify, hey, the outcome matters, but this isn't our whole life, number one. And when I come up here to talk to you about it, be professional. If I want the referee to be a professional, then I need to be one as I go and address the official at the table. And I think just be professional, right? It's such a huge thing. And again, part of that is reading this daggone rule book. Like, if you can't do that, like, what are we even doing? Let's see. Let's jump over. I highlighted some stuff about this bridge back. Here's a big one here, okay? Talking about near fall stuff. When the defensive wrestler places himself in a precarious position during an attempted escape or reversal. So, meaning the defensive wrestler initiated the position, okay? A near fall shall not be scored unless the offensive wrestler has control and restrains the opponent in a pinning situation for 2 seconds. And so the point is there's a longer reaction time that's going to happen there. If the defensive wrestler he created the position, then we're going to let this thing play out. And so in my mind, what we call a knee trap, which we have
I was just thinking
an incredible knee trap, Wayne Joel Peterson situation. You see it out of a Merkle as well. A lot of times if a guy's a Merkle and you change over, this is a sequence that happens all the time. And it's a huge call because it's critical. This is a thing that I think is going to get jacked up a lot, and you're really gambling here. This position out of like side control and stuff is such a big deal. We are obsessed with this position because I think what we do there is really innovative. I think we're leading the country in that. And we've seen that. Sam Sutton won freaking nationals. He won postseason nationals. Didn't win a high school state title in Alabama, won postseason nationals. Like, that's real because he got really good in this position. I've been talking to him. He's at Arizona State right now, and he's just on fire, bro. He's so hungry and excited because he's like, Jake, I'm so good here. He's like, I just wreck people. I'm just messing people up here. It's awesome. You know how Sam is. Anyways, the point is, if this doesn't get called correctly, if you just immediately start rewarding the guy on top, you could be giving up, like you're awarding 3 near fall, where if it's the defensive wrestler created the position, it's 2 reversal and 3 near fall for him, which is an 8-point swing.
Yeah.
8-point swing, right? And so no matter how you call it, the most important thing for an official, and one of the main reasons I want to talk about this, is that you've got to be vocal so that the athlete and coaches know what you're calling. Like, I can live with your call, even if number one, this says that you have to, like, if the defensive wrestler initiated it, that you got to give him a chance there. You know what I'm saying? Which I really feel like is reflective of the offensive and attacking, like, or mindset that we're wanting in our wrestling. It makes exciting wrestling. And so a lot of the freestyle rules are written to reward the offensive wrestler. And so the language in this, to me, really says, hey, we want the defensive wrestler to feel like he can attack and not be penalized there, right? I mean, that's really when I read this, that seems to be the spirit of the rule behind it. And so as an official in this situation, when, hey, possible reversal, possible near fall, you've got to be vocal on what's going on, 1001, 1002, like, or I'm red, we're still red here, red control, like, so that Green knows how to wrestle, right? You've got to be communicating in color control, and then your count. And now when you start counting near fall, if you're red control, 1, 2, green knows, get the heck out of dodge, get off my back, right? Because again, huge swing, and with no-gi jiu-jitsu's growth and the grappling that's happening on the mat, this position is going to happen all the time.
Yeah, I started playing some sweeps from bottom some more. So
it's huge, dude. It's huge. I mean, basically, if you're in side control, if you don't have, if you're not in half back control, knee in the butt, or stepped over in some capacity, you are super open to sweeps, right? And so we teach all that. Shout out, get in. If you don't know what I'm talking about or that sounds interesting, you need to get in that elite program. I'm telling you. We're going to be breaking that down. That might be one of the first things that we break down, because I just think it's such an innovative position, and it is. I mean, freaking Sam won nationals. What am I talking about? Like, anyways, I remember the guys were like, bro, he's not even that good. How did he win? He was getting 5 point. He would give up a takedown for 2 and then get 5. And then was like,
yeah, he probably scored like 60 points in the tournament. It was crazy with that one move.
I remember one of the coaches, I was trying to remember, I can't remember who it was. Somebody that I was like, hey, that guy's like, they've got good kids. He's a good coach, whatever. And he like spiked his hat. He was so pissed. And I was thinking, I remember just looking over, I was like, hey, that's how you know that we're winning.
Yeah.
Like, if you can get the coach to spike his hat, you're doing something right.
That's funny.
Okay, illegal holds maneuvers. Any hold maneuver with pressure exerted over the opponent's mouth, nose, throat, or neck that restricts breathing or circulation is illegal. Okay. We're going to go in deep on this. We shot a whole long video talking about this, because you're seeing kids get choked out all the time. So, and I think that we're on the forefront of this because we've been deep in on jiu-jitsu, specifically no-gi jiu-jitsu, for the last, 7, 8 years, whatever the heck it is now. I don't even know. We're training every day in here. MJ's on the mat. We're throwing down every day. So, choking someone unconscious is harder than pinning them. Okay. It's a smaller bullseye to hit. Okay. And so I really am obsessed with that. And that if you can learn to choke a guy, you can learn to control him, right? It's harder to submit someone than it is to control them. And wrestling really kind of ends at control and pin, where submit is kind of the extension of that. So, but there's a lot of places, a lot of people are training jiu-jitsu now, man. Like Dorian Oliveras just won ADCCs, which is, again, we're talking about rule sets. That jiu-jitsu rule set is really a wrestling match with submissions. Like, that's kind of the way the rule set is guided. Thanks, Mo, for that. Mo, I can't remember Mo's last name, but anyways, he's the guy behind ADCCs. So the wrestling portion is really big. A lot of guys are training jiu-jitsu now. They're newly understanding the value that jiu-jitsu has and how to apply it. The old misnomer that jiu-jitsu is going to make you go to your back is dying. Thank God it was time for that to go away. Freestyle doesn't make you lock hands, and jiu-jitsu doesn't make you go to your back. It's all grappling, okay? It's just a different rule set. So the point is, we can't ban squeezing, right? We can't ban squeezing. Right? When I'm pinning a guy in a headlock, we've all been choked out before in a freaking headlock. It's freaking tight, right? Or a Merkle, or I remember the shoulder lock here, when you're on top and a guy's over your neck and through your armpit and hands locked on top with a boot in or whatever. There's you can choke the fire out of a guy there.
When Kyler Sanderson hits his cradle on you.
Bro, Kyler Sanderson's cradle is tight. Felt that up close and personal. Yeah, dude, he was like, yeah, let me show you the cradle. I was like, bro, you're choking me out. I'm dying. So it's illegal, point blank, okay? So here's what happened. This is a true story. This happened at sectionals. One of our kids from Southside, he gets choked unconscious at the state tournament. Number one, I think it's important that kids have dealt with, we've got to understand the difference in air chokes and blood chokes, right? When a kid's fading, he's being choked, period. If he's being choked, he's like, it's a blood choke, bottom line. We need some education on this, because there's again, airway choke. Hey, you can't be on the throat there. We always say you can't be on the throat. But if you're blocking off both sides of the carotid, whether that's two limbs, right? A lot of the holds don't allow, like you can't lock hands around the neck and rear naked choke a guy, right? Obviously. But if you have the shoulder pinched off on one side and then your own arm or whatever on the other, I mean, that's what half of the submissions in jiu-jitsu are, is just
cutting off
closing
that
off
blood flow.
So we've got to have some education on this for officials. And honestly, it takes a sharp eye to understand. Like you need to, I don't know how you would learn this without being a practitioner, to be honest, because it's it's a small bullseye of like, hey, you're squeezing his head and then all of a sudden guy's going to sleep. Well, if he goes to sleep and if a guy goes to sleep, something was illegal. It had to be. There had to be pressure on the carotid if a guy goes to sleep, right? If he gets choked out, period, something had to be illegal. Well, now, when this kid goes to sleep on the mat, I called him pinned, and he's lifeless for a second, and then comes back to, as the referee, like, you've already slapped the mat and called this kid pinned, but if he got choked out, then something that happened, I should have stopped. So now you have to say that, like you have to backtrack and say he's not the winner. Like, this is a crazy situation where if you follow the rules, I just think it's a serious gap in the rules that we need to revisit. And I guess that's part of putting this here is so that everybody can weigh in and have their own topic. I've sent some of this to big wig officials in folk style and freestyle. I sent it to Sammy Julian just to talk about, because I think that it's a serious gap in the rules, and we've got to figure out how do we do this, because in a couple of different situations, hey, number one, kid just got pinned. Yeah, you just got pinned, right? Well, if he got choked out and pinned, then something was illegal before that.
Yeah.
And I can't ban you from squeezing, right? But I can't put pressure on the carotid. So how do we walk that line? Because if this kid went to sleep, again, rewind, something that had to be illegal. Well, okay, so let's pretend situation A, you call the kid pinned, tough life, get up, move on, dog, right? That's the way that it goes now. Tough, bro, that happens. Protect your neck.
Yeah.
Situation B, you say, oh, that was actually illegal. The referee has to admit that, hey, I missed that. That was illegal because we choked him unconscious. So backtrack. Well, now it's a point, near fall, go away, whatever, however you score that. But if the kid on the mat doesn't continue, you lose. So you just pinned this kid, but he went to sleep, and if he decides not to continue, then you lose, which brings up a whole second situation of the, like, I'm injured and can't continue rule.
Yeah.
And how that affects brackets, right? Because kid could fake it that he passed out now, right? Like, situation C is he fakes it, and now the referee is trying to make a moral judgment of, did he really pass out or did he not? Was he pinned? Like, the referee has not just an insane amount of power, but an insane amount of pressure.
Yeah, it's a gray area for sure, because he has to admit, like, hey, I missed that. So he's got to,
on the lights with everybody around, people are going nuts. The fans, crowds, this kid's mom is screaming bloody murder. Like, they think their baby died. Like, it's wild, right? Listen, moms, all the moms out there, dads, you name it, everybody, athletes even, when you get choked out and you come to, dude, you're good. It's peaceful. It's peaceful. Hey, I went to sleep.
Wake up call.
You might feel like you should be embarrassed because you've never been in that situation. My answer would be, you need to be in that situation. I believe that we have our athletes do some jiu-jitsu. They train jiu-jitsu, especially in season, right? Because of the stupid rules in Alabama. We train grappling. And so you need to have been in that situation. You need to have been choked and not panic. And occasionally you might have to, like, hey, you need to have gone to sleep and woke up and been like, oh, I'm actually totally okay. I'm actually really relaxed and peaceful, and it feels like I just woke up from a dream and I'm ready to go again. You I don't think you need concussion protocol or 6 weeks off or whatever. It's not like you're going to have a brain bruise.
you didn't get knocked out.
You didn't get TKO'd. You don't have a brain bruise. You're not going to die. You don't need to go sit in the back of an ambulance or go to the hospital. You're okay. You're totally okay. You're actually super duper okay. And so folk style wrestling period is like way behind that. We don't understand. Nobody understands. So we just need some education about it. Again, while we're talking about it, this is a crazy hot topic that runs deep.
Because there's so many different variables that go into it.
Yeah. And so again, A, B, C situations, all because of that. And there's several, this whole like it's illegal. I have several different parts in the rule book highlighted and pointed out, but they all circle around the same topic, right? The whole, if you get injured and continue is like a whole nother rule thing that we got to go, hey, like what happens here? I think that if you continue that way, like you have to, let me just say this real quick. If you forfeit or you choose not to continue, right, in a match, because you might get banged up and you're really not okay. Will Anderson lost in Super 32 on the Conso side. He came down hard, got banged up or whatever else, and like he needed some recovery time, to be honest, right? He should have taken some recovery time. He wasn't back to normal yet, and he kept wrestling and wound up losing the next situation and lost the match, okay? So he wasn't back to normal yet. He would have been fine, but not having that extra recovery time. So there's times that you're not okay yet, and you just have to wrestle, and it can affect the outcome totally.
For sure.
But if you choose not to continue, and you win by forfeit because the other guy did an illegal hold, I think you should have to forfeit your next match. So if you're in the semis and you win like that, you automatically forfeit your next match, because now there's a little bit of checks and balance of like, hey, no, it's okay. If you really can't continue, that's okay. But you can't win in the semis that way and then go win in the finals and win and be a state champ or a national champ or whatever else. When you won that way in the semis, you gotta have to cowboy up and earn it, right? So I think that should be a rule that we should look at implementing. I'm not just complaining. I'm offering a solution there. I need to think more about the solution for the chokeout situation. Really, there's just a huge gap there, period. Okay, so piggybacking that, I'm going to jump over. So that's on the initial thing that I was talking about there is on page 26 if you're in this year's rule book. But if you jump forward to page 32, it's Rule 529, Article 6. Yeah, so it says, it talks about head, neck, circle column, recovery time. And so there's referee's timeout. It's talking about the different types of timeouts, right? And so blood time, if contestant bleeds, they'll be charged with blood time, which has a maximum of 5 minutes cumulative throughout the match. So injury time is 90 seconds. You have 90 seconds total of injury time, which I think is a great rule. That's down. That used to be 5 minutes. I like that it's only 90 seconds so that you can't just take the I'm tired time out and change ruin the integrity of the match completely, right? There's 5 minutes of blood time. There's recovery time in here. Like 2 minutes recovery time. There's referee's timeout, coach and referee's conference, which is supposed to be handled in a timely fashion. But there's head, neck, and circle column stuff, right? So if a contestant's injured on the appropriate, and let's see, if a contestant is injured, the on-site appropriate healthcare professional will have up to 5 minutes to evaluate the wrestler's head and neck involved in the cervical column and or nervous system. A second occurrence of injury to the head and neck involving the cervical column and or nervous system in the same match shall require the wrestler to default the match. Okay, so you get 5 minutes, like, hey, you banged your head or your neck or whatever the deal is, right? Head and neck injuries, you get 5 minutes recovery time for that, which is separate from injury time. That's what's critical, is that it's not your 90-second injury time. It's head and neck, basically, right? It's HNC is the abbreviation for it in here, head, neck, cervical column. So I've just been saying head and neck. However, I wrote a note in here of like, what about being choked out? Who's responsible? Like, how does that work, right? It's a kind of a continuation of what we were just talking about. How does that work? It's a neck injury, right?
For sure.
Or if I got choked out, could that fall under HNC injuries? I think, and obviously that's not clearly communicated, but I think that that's an area where that could be written in.
It's open to interpretation.
Yeah, and so it doesn't address this whatsoever, really, like as far as the being choked out thing. But I think that's an area where we could pull the like choked out rules in and say, hey, it's a blood choke, whatever else, and have 5 minutes of recovery time for HNC stuff. So, but again, it's like, how do you govern the morality of that? Like, hey, you can squeeze him, but not enough that he passes out, or like, I don't know. It's just a crazy situation where you can't make it illegal to squeeze a guy's neck.
Yeah.
Right. Now you can ban it in certain ways, but I mean, a headlock or a Merkle or so many holds
Advice even
are all that same way. So, yeah, listen, this thing runs deep. I'm going to call this part one. Like, we have so much more to go, and we're going to chop this up and continue on. I'm really interested to see what the people think. There's a ton of pictures in the back. I want to talk about chin whips. I want to talk about the double knee block stuff, trap arm from rear standing. There's so many positions that we need to discuss. The legal head pry on a cradle that gets called for locking hands all the time. There's so many things. Again, the pictures in the back of the rule book are awesome. If you don't have a rule book, you should definitely get one. I'm really interested to see what other people think. Like, what are some situations that they would like us to talk about, either that are in the rule book, talk about some clarification of it, how it should be interpreted, or specifically addressing situations. What are some more gaps in the rule book that we need to bring into place? Because there's obviously, I mean, naturally, there's always a lag, right? There's the wrestling is innovating, and I think right now it's innovating at such a crazy rate that it's difficult for the rule book to keep up. And so it's our job to have these discussions and then bring them forward to the people so that they can be, I'm not just here to complain. Let's discuss this, propose solutions, and then put it forward to the powers that be, right?
For sure.
We could talk about referee training, coaching training, parent training, all those things. I think the rules are a crazy thing, again, because the referees have the biggest platform, period, to standardize wrestling and get it right and educate our constituents. Again, I want to thank All-American Ford for their sponsorship. They've come alongside us as partners. We're always looking for more partners to make this thing possible. We're in the process of getting our nonprofit stuff right now, thanks to Amari and Gray, the law firm, helping us handle that stuff right now. If you are a coach, I believe every coach needs a coach. I have multiple coaches in business, in grappling, other coaches in wrestling even, okay? If you are a coach that needs a coach, hit us up. Our Pro Coaches program is awesome. We just talk about being a professional, and we can answer. We just want to share all the things that we've done, all right? We've been doing this for years for free, and to be honest, like I can't answer all the questions. We get hit up so much, and so we've created a better version of what we've already been doing. We already have so many resources online, but that direct call stuff, direct access to us, weekly training calls that'll get sent to you. You'll have them logged in your library, watch them on the road, drop in, ask questions, giving you direct access, right? Because frankly, we can't answer all the questions that we get in our DMs or in Facebook Message or whatever else. We literally can't keep up with the volume. So we've created a coaches program for that's going to be way more authentic. I think it's going to be more like what we want to be. It feels like us that, hey, we might have a classroom session and we can do it here, or we'll stream it on the mat. We'll get on the mat and do some technique stuff. It's going to be really there. We have the ability now and the skills to make it whatever it needs to be. But I'm just excited about providing like a tremendous value to our coaches, because we can help that coach who can help everyone on his team, right? And really empower them. And then also we're doing that with athletes. If you're a wrestling parent or an athlete that's trying to do this thing elite, I mean, you usually spend $2, $3, $4 on a weekend traveling to a tournament and wrestling, right? Like, help us help you get off the struggle bus. Maybe you're tired of fighting with your spouse at home and arguing about how you're coaching your son, and it's leading to stress and turmoil in your house. I watch this get jacked up all the time. Like, we all get stuck in that same rut, and we just want to provide some truly like professional like help on the thing, right? Some counsel on the thing, so that athlete, mom, dad, everybody in the household can be on the same page, and we can find healthy, sustainable habits. That was one of the things that when I got done wrestling, like, hey, whatever level of success that I did have, I left with a bunch of unhealthy habits, things that didn't really carry over to being a like successful adult. I learned about hard work, right? I learned about those things, but like I didn't understand enough about nutrition, right? I didn't understand how to create not balance. You're never going to have balance, but rhythm, right? And there were just some breakthrough things there. This isn't some pie in the sky, whatever stuff. We're going to truly help people, and I'm excited about that. If you're interested, hit us up. You can get in our DMs, and somebody will get you in touch with us about that. We're trying to catch up there, or just literally shoot us a text, 205-793-6089, and just say Pro Coaches Program or Elite Athlete Program, and we can kind of move you through those channels and get you in contact We'll try to do like a free consult with you, right? Once we get some questions answered and just see what we can do to help you. All right. That's kind of the whole deal. So I'm crazy excited about it. We're empowering athletes. Thanks to my maintenance man, MJ, who's crushing it. We have some incredible coaches doing all the things. Hopefully y'all are having success recruiting youth wrestling. It's that time of year for everybody. We have all things youth wrestling going on here. You can hit us up, ironcladwrestling.com, or go check out some instructionals, ironcladmethods.com. It's all there for you. We love you guys. Thank y'all so much. We'll be back again. Get in those comments. Let us know what you need or what you want to talk about. And please start a conversation in the comments. All your channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. We're on all of them. I guess we're on all the podcast things too.
We're not on iTunes yet, but we're on your YouTube and Spotify.
We're on. So I went through the thing. I think we got approved. I need to look and check, but I submitted all kinds of stuff to get approved. It might even be on there.
Let's go.
I know it's on Amazon Music and like iHeartRadio. It's on a bunch of things. So, anyways,
leveling up.
You guys are awesome. Love y'all. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you soon, man. We're out.